Automating information grabbing Kali Linux. Armand Shahriarian. Automating information grabbing. All of this searching can be time-consuming, especially if you have to go through many queries in order to get as many results as possible. Fortunately, we can use tools in Kali to get results quickly. The first tool we are going to look at is called the Harvester. This is a program that can use multiple sources for looking for details. This includes not only Google or Bing, two popular search providers, but also LinkedIn, a social networking site for business opportunities where you post your resume online and make connections with people for business purposes, including hiring searches. The Harvester will also search through Twitter and Pretty Good PRI. Vaki, PGP. When the Harvester looks through PGP, it is looking through an online database of people who use PGP to encrypt or sign their emails. Using the online PGP database, the Harvester will be able to turn up numerous email addresses if the people have ever registered a PGP key. In example 3:1, we take a look for PGP keys that have been registered using the domain name O'Reilly.com. This will provide us with a list of email addresses, as you can see, though the email addresses have been obscured here just for the sake of propriety. The list of email addresses has been truncated as well. Several more results were returned. Interestingly, even though I created my first PGP key in the 90s and have had to regenerate keys a few times for my personal email address because I haven't stored the private key, my email address didn't come up when I went looking for it. Example 3:1. The Harvester PGP results. Root at Rosebud # The Harvester D O'Reilly.com BPGP. We are not limited to using just PGP, of course. We can also search through LinkedIn to identify people. In example 3:2, the search is for a different domain name. In this case, we are looking for anyone who has used a gmail.com email address. Added to the command line for this search, as you will see, is a flag for indicating the limit on the results to work with. This particular search didn't end up yielding anything. This is why it may be useful to try multiple providers to look for people. You will get different results from the different providers, so you may want to try all the providers that the Harvester supports. Example 3:2. The Harvester LinkedIn results. Root at Rosebud # The Harvester D gmail.com L1000B LinkedIn. This is another case that may require multiple searches. Fortunately, in this case you can write a little script to make your life easier. In example 3:3, you can see a simple Python script that will run through a few providers, given a domain name provided on the command line. This script could be beefed up substantially if it was intended to be used across multiple users who didn't necessarily understand how it worked. For my own personal use, though, this works perfectly. What you should end up with is a number of files, both XML and HTML, for each of the providers that returned results. Example 3:3. Script for searching using the Harvester. The for loop is a way to keep calling the Harvester with different providers each time. Because the Harvester can generate output, we don't have to collect the output from this script. Instead, we just name each output file based on the provider. If you want to add providers or just change providers out, you can modify the list. You may not want to check with Google Profiles, for instance. You may want to add Twitter. Just modifying the providers line will get you additional results, depending on your needs. Because it can be such a useful source of information, we're going to take a look at another program that mines LinkedIn. This program uses word lists to help identify matches on LinkedIn. We are essentially doing two levels of data searching. First, we are focusing on companies, but additionally, we can look for specific data. In example 3 to 4, we are searching LinkedIn for people who have titles that are included in the word list provided using the program InSpy. Example 3 to 4. Using InSpy to search LinkedIn. Root at Rosebud #InSpy. The word lists provided with InSpy are just text files. The one we are using is a list of titles. The following is a subset of one of the word lists. If a title is not included in either of the title word lists, the difference is the length. You can just add them to the file. As mentioned before, you can search things like job listings for technology used by a company. The same is true for LinkedIn listings. Because the profiles are essentially resumes that people will sometimes use to submit for job applications, details are often included about the responsibilities of a particular person in any given position. Because of that, we can potentially get a list of technology in use at a company. This can also be done using InSpy. Whereas before we were using the EmpSpy module, we will use the TechSpy module this time. The command syntax is the same. All we need to do is switch out the module and the word list. You can see this in example 3 to 5. Example 3 to 5. InSpy using the TechSpy module. Root at Rosebud #InSpy TechSpy /USR/share/InSpy /wordlists/TechList large.txt O'Reilly. InSpy 2.0.3. What InSpy is doing is searching for the company name and then looking for refer instances in the profiles to the different technologies listed in the word list. One thing to note about InSpy is that it isn't currently installed by default in Kali. To be able to use it, I needed